Hey, read this.
Huh? Hi, my name is Kalen and welcome to Mythbusters. What is this shit? What am I reading this for? I'm gonna be real with you, I'm just gonna level with you for a second here. I'm too young. I've never seen a single episode of Mythbusters in my life. I actually had to Google if they had an intro. Yeah. That's a bit embarrassing, isn't it? Guitars, they're an enigma, aren't they? Well, not really, but there are still many people out there who I'm still holding the phone. I'm looking at professional. Jesus Christ, me. But there are still an uncomfortable amount of people out there who believe every piece of bullshit information about guitars that they're told. So tonight I've cherry-picked 6 of my favorite guitar myths so I can tell you why you're wrong. Over the past couple of years, locking tuners have become immensely popular, and I won't say that I don't understand why, because restringing a guitar with locking tuners is incredibly practical. It's just much faster, you don't have to bend the thing around the peg, so they're definitely a good invention that makes life just that little bit easier. But they do not affect your tuning stability, and if you think that they do, you're an idiot who can't restring a guitar properly. See, I own quite a few guitars at this point in my life, and while all of them have tremolos, not a single one of them has locking tuners. I mean, if you think about it for no more than 10 seconds, sure, the string not being able to pull and slip out of the peg is a good thing and would technically help your tuning stability. But again, if you know how to properly secure it in there, you might actually be better off with a set of equally expensive non-locking tuning pegs because they'll be higher quality since they don't have that price markup for the locking feature that really you do not need. Do you need a 100-watt amp to play loud? Does it need to be a tube amp? Well, no, and no, and why would you think that? See, here's the thing that a lot of people aren't aware of, but most guitar players should be, in my opinion. In order to double the volume of a guitar amplifier, you need to multiply the wattage by 10, meaning that this 15-watt orange micro dark isn't really that much quieter than this JCM 2000 DSL cranked, even though this has 100 watts and this has 15. The difference in volume really isn't that big, but also let's be real for a second, you will never crank this amp, you have no band to keep up with on stage. Oh, this one's my favorite one by far. If you don't know what Dunlop lemon oil is, it is this oil that's supposed to hydrate your fretboard. A common misconception about this enticing and mysterious yellow liquid is that it's actually made from lemons, which is just the dumbest shit I've ever heard of. Imagine thinking that a company which for decades has been making guitar accessories and stuff would make citrus juice to put on your guitars, or just on raw exposed wood. Who are you people? No, there are no lemons in here. The only thing close to lemon is the artificial scent, which really isn't even citrus adjacent. It smells like lemon flavored candy. It smells sweet. I don't know why you would think that it is sour, just even judging by the smell of it. Now, sadly, me being as well prepared as I always am, I do not have a pH indicator to prove this to you. However, here is a clip of Colin from CS Guitars doing just that.
Here I've lined up 4 samples: vinegar, lemon, fretboard lemon oil, and water. Please confirm to your own satisfaction which of these are acidic and which are not.
Not lemons. It's not lemon. Here's a Strat, and here is my hand. It's big boy. But can you play fast if your hands aren't this big? Michael Romeo. I rest my case. I mean, he's a short little stubby fat fuck, always has been, and he's one of the greatest guitar players on earth, and has been for decades. I don't know why you would think that having short stubby fingers would stop you from playing like a god. That just kind of seems to me like a lame excuse for not wanting to practice, and I don't like those excuses. Go practice. Now, what is true bypass, I hear you ask? True bypass is a feature that some guitar pedals have, wherein if your guitar pedal is turned off, the signal from your instrument will be routed directly from the input to the output of the pedal, so ideally, without any of that circuit buffer in between, the signal should not be affected whatsoever. Are true bypass pedals really the best, or the only good pedals? Should you only buy true bypass pedals? Let me put it this way. Still heavy. This is my pedalboard. I've recently made a video about it. I've since retired the Electro-Harmonix Holy Grail and replaced it with the Danelectro Spring King, but still, as far as I know, none of these pedals claim to be true bypass, and this is probably the best sounding pedalboard I've ever seen, which is why I built it like this. The difference between plugging into the board with all the pedals turned off or just plugging straight into the amp, it's almost comparable to Tonewood in that the difference is there, but it's so minuscule, it's so minute that it's really not worth bitching about, and it definitely shouldn't be a deal breaker when you're buying gear. The sentiment that when you're starting off playing guitar, you should start with cheap gear, that is a very common thing, and in God's name, I cannot understand why. Why would you tell a beginner to go for cheap gear when they start playing guitar? I understand that you might not want to make like a big investment before you're certain that you will keep going. But trust me, a more expensive guitar might motivate you to keep going because it's easier. My first guitar was a Squier Bullet Stratocaster. I don't actually mind the sound of it that much. The feel is alright. It was things like the tuning stability that just angered me when I was a beginner because I wasn't like very fast at retuning my guitar yet. I played a whole lot though. I'd play like, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 hours a day if I had the time. These days, not so much. I do a lot of this now. So yeah. But I still practice a lot, and tuning stability and stuff like that, it's incredibly important. I don't know why if someone can afford expensive gear, they shouldn't go for it. I'm not saying get a fucking Mayones, I'm not saying get a custom shop Fender Strat for your first guitar, but I don't know. She's definitely a very common reoccurring character in these videos. This is my 2003 Stratocaster. It is a Mexican Strat. On Reverb, these go for about 700 to 900 euro these days, and honestly, it's like my second favorite guitar. The jump from, I don't know, like a 200-300 euro Squier to a guitar like this is unfathomable to a beginner, right? You play something like this after all you've played for, I don't know, 6 months, maybe a year. Was your Squier Affinity Telecaster or something like that? It'll blow your mind. So please, by all means, if you're thinking about taking up this instrument, or any instrument for that matter, and you can afford like a mid-range one, then go for that. Go for the best that you can afford and you'll have the best experience. It'll just make everything so much easier. I don't know why beginners should start off with cheap gear. That's the most nonsensical thing I've ever heard. I'm not saying there isn't good cheap gear out there, but if you can afford it, get it, please. So this was fun. I guess the moral of the story is don't believe anything any musician tells you until you've done your own research, because musicians are all idiots and I hate guitar players. Latest video is somewhere over here. The subscribe button's somewhere down there. I'll see you in the next video.